To solve an equation that involves a fraction like we have here, we must first know that this line that separates the numerator from the denominator means divide. That is to say that 12 divided by x equals 4. We could rewrite it as this: 12 divided by x equals 4. So the question is, what do you divide 12 by to equal 4? And the answer, of course, is 3. So we can say x equals 3 as our answer. We might think here initially that the answer is 4 because 12 divided by 3 equals 4. That is incorrect. X does not equal 4 in this equation. What we have here, if we read it correctly, is something which we've called x divided by 3 equals 12. That is, when we divide an amount by 3, we get 12. That's 12, 12, and another 12, because we've divided something by 3 and we've got 12. So our value of x in this situation is 36. That is, x equals 36. Let's solve this another way. You'll see how important it is to know how to read the equation. We start with the x, the variable, might not be an x all the time, and we work our way out from there. So we have x divided by 3 equals 12. To keep this balance, that is to say that the left hand side equals the right hand side, my first step is to multiply both sides of this equation by 3. I've got divide 3 here, and if I multiply by 3, I end up back where I started. So I have x on this side equals, and 12 multiplied by 3 is 36. This agrees with my answer that I got the first time. Let's read this. 7 divided by x equals 8. And I'm going to use this balance method that we're familiar with now. So I don't really like this divided by x. So to get rid of that, I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by x. So on the left hand side, I've got 7 divided by x multiplied by x. Well, the inverse, or the opposite of divide by x, is multiplied by x. They cancel each other out. X divided by x is 1. So all we're left with on this side is 7. And that's going to equal 8 multiplied by x, which of course is 8x. Now, how do I solve this equation? 8 x's have the value of 7. So if I divide both sides by 8, that will tell me the value of 1 of the x's. I haven't got much space, I'm just going to do that here. So I've got 7 equals 8x to continue with this. If I divide both sides by 8, like I'm doing here, I get 7 divided by 8. Well, I don't know what that is without a calculator, so I'm going to leave it as a fraction. And of course, 8x divided by 8 leaves me with 1x. That is to say that x equals 7/8. And I quite like to write my answer down left to right. So x equals 7/8 is my answer. It's the solution to our original equation. Here we have x. We start with a variable and we work our way outwards. So x multiplied by 3 to get the 3x. Then you divide it by 4 and this has the value of 2. It equals 2. Now the aim is to get all the x's on one side and the value of those x's on the other side. So if I start by multiplying both sides of the equation by 4, on this side I'll just be left with 3x, and on this side I'll be left with 8. So 3x equals 8. To find the value of 1x, I need to divide both sides by 3. So 3x divided by 3 leaves me with 1x, and 8 divided by 3, well, I can't do that without a calculator, so I will leave my answer as a fraction. That is 8 divided by 3, written as 8 over 3, or 8/3. Starting at the variable and working our way outwards, we have x multiplied by 2 plus 1, then divide that by 3, and it equals 5. So the first thing that I'm going to do to get my x's on one side and the value of those on the other is I'm going to multiply by 3. And that'll get rid of the division there. Let's divide by 3. So here I'll be left with 2x plus 1, and on this side I will get 5 times 3, which is 15. And now I've got x multiplied by 2 plus 1 equals 15. So I'll first take away 1 from both sides, so that'll give me 2x on this side, and on the other side I'll have 15 minus 1, which is 14. And now, of course, I want the value of 1x. So this is 2x. I'm going to divide it by 2. Do the same to both sides. So now I have 1x equals 14 divided by 2, which is 7. So the answer to this equation is x equals 7. Now that we're more familiar with equations that have fractions in, we can start to solve more complex ones like this. We start at the variable and we work our way outwards. So here we have x minus 1, then you multiply that by 5, then you divide it by 4, then you take away 7, and it equals 3. Now my suggestion to you is, before you do anything else, expand the brackets. So I'm going to write another line underneath with the brackets expanded. That is, here we have 5 multiplied by x is 5x, and 5 multiplied by minus 1 is minus 5, and everything else stays the same. So I've still got my divide by 4, I've still got my minus 7, and that equals 3. Now I'm going to solve this equation. X multiplied by 5 to get 5x, take away 5, then divide it by 4, then take away 7, and I get 3. Notice the last thing that I said was take away 7. So the first thing I'm going to do here is add 7. That is the inverse of take away 7, the opposite of take away 7. So now on this side I'm left with 5x minus 5 divided by 4. That's the whole thing divided by 4. And that equals 3 plus 7, which is 10. Now I have x multiplied by 5 to get 5x, take away 5, divided by 4 equals 10. The last thing I said was divide by 4, so I'm going to do the opposite of that, the inverse of that, which is multiply by 4. On the left hand side I'm left with 5x minus 5, and on the right hand side I'm left with 10 multiplied by 4, which equals 40. Let's continue with this. So now I've got x multiplied by 5 to get 5x, take away 5 equals 40. The last thing I said was take away 5. So I'm going to do the inverse of that, which is plus 5. Do that to both sides. On the left hand side I'm left with 5x, and on the right hand side I'm left with 40 plus 5, which is 45. And one final move, I have 5x here equals 45, but I only want one of them, so I need to divide by 5 on both sides. So now I have x equals 45 divided by 5, which is 9. So the answer to the original equation is x equals 9. Here we have a variable of x on both sides of the equals sign. The left hand side is x multiplied by 2 to get 2x plus 3, and then divide it by 5, and it equals the value of the right hand side. Well, the last thing that I said on the left hand side was divide by 5. So the first thing that I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 5. So on the left hand side I get 2x plus 3, and on the right hand side I get 5 lots of x minus 3. Now I need to expand the brackets before I continue. So the left hand side stays the same, 2x plus 3, and the right hand side becomes 5x from 5 multiplied by x, and minus 15 from 5 multiplied by minus 3, or negative 3. Now this I can continue to solve. I want to keep them balanced, so I think the first thing that I'll do is take away 2x from both sides. So on the left hand side all I have is 3, positive 3, and on the right hand side 5x minus 2x is 3x, and I still have this minus 15. Well, I want all the x's on one side, so to get rid of this negative 15, this minus 15, I'm going to add 15 to both sides of the equals sign of the equation. So 3 plus 15 is 18, and 3x minus 15 plus 15 is 3x. Let's finish this over here. So at the moment I have 18 equals 3x, and I want the value of 1x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So 18 divided by 3 is 6, and 3x divided by 3 is x. That is the answer, x equals 6. I like to write it left to right to be absolutely clear. If 6 equals x, then x equals 6. And that's the solution to this equation.